Hello, listeners. Lindsey and I try to keep our conversations at a PG level. Our desire is that these conversations can be used with families as discussions, with groups as discussions, with you as a discussion. And in that, we do try to make sure that we are keeping it clean. But today's episode, while we do keep it clean, depending on your tradition and what your family's tradition is, you may want to listen to this episode first before you listen with your children. We don't want to spoil anything for you or for your kids and what you have done. So just be warned. And thank you for joining us in the 42 podcast. Welcome to the 42 podcast, where a Christian and an atheist sit down to discuss the meanings of life, the universe, and everything else in between. Thank you for joining us. Well, Merry Christmas, Lindsey.
Merry Christmas, Robert.
Are you getting ready for Christmas? Are you ready for Christmas? Or
Oh, yeah.
you last-minute shopper ready for Christmas?
Yep, we're ready. I mean, we don't have a tree up. We need a tree. We're gonna get a tree this weekend, hopefully. And decorate and all that stuff. Lug everything down from the attic.
Do you do live trees or artificial trees?
We do live trees. Maybe someday we'll do fake. But it's fun to do something with the kids. Go out and get a tree and, you know, that's a fun activity, so.
We did a live tree once when the kids were wee little, and that about killed me because Mel picked this huge tree, and since then we've never done it again. But there's a part of me that would like to do that again. Maybe not a huge tree, but and it also helps as my son is getting older and having him to help, and
Yeah.
Our tree has been up since September.
Wow. My husband won't even let me play Christmas music until after Thanksgiving. I say let me loosely, obviously, but he
Well,
just...
yeah. And that is the traditional rule in our house. Anything pre-dad having turkey, I humbug.
But you have a Christmas tree up.
Yeah, so
Mel wins.
the long of the short of it is my wife's grandmother passed away in September. And she was a huge Christmas fan. She decorated for Christmas early, and it was a special and dear time for her. So I agreed that this year, and only this year, we could set up for Christmas in September, and I would not humbug music, decorations, or anything else for this year only.
Okay. Good man.
Come next year, yeah, you better believe it. I'm humbugging everything pre-Thanksgiving. All right, so we're going to talk actually about Christmas and some Christmas stuff today. What do you got, Lindsey? You said you had a few questions you wanted to ask me up front.
Yeah. Do you believe in Santa Claus?
Yes.
Do you believe in magic?
Yes.
Actual Harry Potter magic stuff?
Of a sort, yes.
Like druidic magic or something?
I wouldn't classify it as druidic, but I believe in a form of magic, yes.
Oh, you're annoying!
I know. I don't know how to exactly classify it.
So do you believe in God's intervention on events and that he can like do things like walk on water, or is it something separate from God?
I wouldn't say it's separate. It's almost I'm going to use the term, I'm going to make up the term, I guess. It's almost Lewisian, where you get into the Chronicles of Narnia and there's this reference to magic, and the magic is it never finds a place within the hierarchy of God, but it's there, and
it's how the world was made.
Well, not just how the world was made, but that there's this degree of mystery within faith, within belief, within how we interact with and engage with the world that is magic. So not like Harry Potter running around with wands magic, but not that. Yeah, I don't know how to classify it. I do believe that there is a degree of magic. I don't know how to express it.
So what do you think this magic does? What does this magic do?
I think this magic would best be described as something that it reveals in nature, but it also reveals in mystery, and I love a good magician. I really do. Like, if it's a close-up magician or like a David Copperfield magician, when they can take a moment and kind of suspend reality and bring you into this place of wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I kind of look at with magic, where it's this thing that brings you into a place of wonder and mystery. And how they do that, it's not here, but in my office, I have it's a 9 of clubs pinned to the board, and it has my name written on it, and it was this close-up magician, and he did the trick, and I can normally catch how people do the tricks, but he did the trick so well, I couldn't follow it. And it was a moment of suspended awe and wonder, and that's the kind of magic that I believe in.
Even though it's something that could be explained. Is it still magic even though it can be explained?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's, what's that famous quote where it's, magic is only advanced technology or something like that. I forget what the quote is, but it's, what we perceive as magic may be something more advanced than what we can understand.
Yeah, I'm watching Cosmos right now on Amazon Prime, and it is so good. And that comes up a couple times, is some of these guys, as advanced as they were, as a, like, I can't even comprehend figuring out the things that they figured out about the universe with math. I don't get that. But even they would have been blown away and believed that what we know now about the universe is magic. They would have thought it was witchcraft. So I totally get that.
Is this the first time you're watching Cosmos?
Yes. With the one with Neil deGrasse. Yeah, Tyson.
Okay. I loved it. It was really good. And I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. His way of speaking, his way of presenting, and his view of the world is one that is kind of in that magical realm, but there are ways to answer, but this is incredible. And that's part of the reason I love, like, space stuff as well, because you see pictures from Hubble, and how can you not look at that and just be amazed at what creation is, which for me then leads back into my faith.
So your definition of magic is more like a state of wonder about the universe.
To a degree, but there is this supernatural element that I cannot dismiss from it either, where there are things that I have seen and experienced that cannot right now be explained. You know, we talked a little bit about this in the Alien episode, where, you know, that second UFO sighting that I had said and seen, that turned out to be something that was incredible with the iridium flare, which I learned through reading it again. It's not the solar panels, it's this iridium dish or something that reflects off the satellite, and those satellites have now all deorbited. But to me, that's a moment of magic and wonder, and yeah, there's an answer to it, but it just brings in the revelation of creation, of what we're doing in creation, and then there are these other elements that's not explainable, that...
what we don't know yet.
Right, well, whether it's we don't know yet, or we don't fully understand, or it's just going to be a mystery. And I like solving mysteries, but I also like having a mystery that is there in front of me that I can't answer perfectly, because it keeps me engaged.
Mm-hmm. So Santa, let's go back around to Santa now, and let's discuss Santa Claus, and in what way and fashion you believe in Santa Claus.
Well, I am right there in my mid-30s, 35, and I have believed in Santa since my parents told me about Santa, and I love it. I've never walked away from that belief in Santa, and I think there is a magic to it that brings mystery, brings wonder, brings a joy, but there's also a danger to it, and I kind of want to jump into that danger to it first, and ask a question of you, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What were you raised with in Santa?
I know the story of St. Nicholas. I knew the story of St. Nicholas, and that he was a good person and helped people that were in poverty. But Santa Claus, as we know him, which is basically an invention of the Coca-Cola advertisement company, is a story and kind of fun and good fodder for movies. But pretend.
You were raised with that aspect of Santa was pretend? You weren't raised with the idea that there was a real Santa who...
Never. And I'm glad. I'm really glad, because that just would have confused the heck out of me, too.
So this is, and I had to actually call my father and ask him specifically this week, because there was a vague conversation that I remember having when I was a little kid with him and him explaining Santa, and he said something that stuck with me, and there's a danger to how we explain Santa, and creating the narrative and myth that Santa is this guy in a red suit who flies around with reindeer once a year on Christmas is creating the first lie, and when that shatters, that brings a mistrust into the relationship between parent and child.
Yep, I'm with you.
Right, and I'm assuming you have done something similar to what you grew up with your children?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, where my parents actually differed is they explained, and this is where my belief in Santa still is, they explained that Santa, as we understand him, is the mythical and legendary figure who embodies the spirit of Christmas and is used as that embodiment in how we speak, how we talk, but that spirit of Christmas is embodied in parents, then, who give gifts to their children. How I have explained it to my children, and how it was explained to me, is that Santa is real, but Santa is the spirit of kindness and love and giving. And again, because of my faith, the first gift that we always emphasize with that is that God gave us Christ, and then because of this, we are able to go out in the spirit of Christmas and give and love and care for our fellows. So Santa is the myths, the legends, the embodiments that we see in our multimedia are just the embodiment of that spirit, and we can enjoy and celebrate the season in that spirit of Christmas. So Santa doesn't have to be physically real for him to be spiritually real.
That's kind of what, in the movie The Santa Claus, that's what Charlie says. The little boy, Charlie, that's what Charlie said his parents, his mother and stepfather told him, which is interesting. So it's not actually original to you guys, I don't think.
Well, Santa Claus came out after I was a little kid.
94, yeah.
Yeah, I was born in 85. Around 3 or 4, they started teaching and embodying this principle of Santa all the way through. I'm the oldest of 4, so me and each of my siblings have this, but
yeah,
they started this practice before that, yes.
This belief coincides with your belief in Jesus and what he represents at Christmas, which is kind of the same thing that Santa Claus, sort of just saying a remix of Jesus, kind of, don't you think?
I wouldn't say not a remix of Jesus, but there's a couple different paintings and drawings that always go around on social media this time of year, and it's the traditional looking Santa Claus, the guy in the red suit, bowed down at the manger and speaking to, we are able to give because he gave. It's kind of extending that spirit of giving. I don't know if...
Yeah.
Maybe remix is right. But yeah, it's that idea that we have Santa because we have Christ. And one of my arguments in this, and this is kind of where I now want to lay out something very clear and very concise with you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
In this podcast, you and I have a bit of an unspoken agreement, all right? And part of that agreement is that there's a small degree of hope that you have that you're going to ask a question that pulls the linchpin of my faith and it collapses. And then vice versa, I'm going to ask a question that re-sparks your faith and your hope. It's a bit of an unspoken. It's part of the tension that is our friendship, and that's okay. We exist with this. But I have to say, in this conversation, I want to move that needle directly, a little bit for you, from unbelief to belief in at least the general idea of Santa and the humanity that spirit embodies.
Yeah.
So are you okay with that? I mean, I'm
That's what you're gonna try to do, or what you think, or what?
That's what I'm going to directly try. That is my objective directly, that, I don't want Miracle on 34th Street ending here of, oh, Santa's real, yay, I believe. I just want that needle to move a little bit where you say, yeah, okay, I think that's possible.
Well,
That there's something more.
um, interesting.
Yeah, I know. I kind of I kind of played my hand here. But I'm hoping to move you to a little bit of not exactly my belief in Santa, but that there is something a little more to Santa that falls under that kind of magical element that is not exactly explainable, but somehow it's woven throughout humanity.
An element of Santa that's woven throughout humanity.
Mm-hmm. I just want to move that needle a little bit towards belief in this. So are you good with that?
We can discuss it. I think humanity has a drive to be altruistic and look out for each other and give to each other because it's makes us happy. I think it makes us happy to make other people happy.
Okay. So I sent you a bunch of links.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and start going through that. All right. So that first one from Scientific America. Do you have that?
1 second. Scientific. Where did it go? Yeah. Yep, okay.
All right. So in this article, the author is discussing the anthropological view of Santa Clauses from around the world. And there's the original Christian view, which is St. Nicholas, that has evolved into the modern day Santa.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
And St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, from that is primarily Christian. But there are other Santas from all around the world. In one point, he discusses the Dutch Sinterklaas and how Sinterklaas is a little bit different from Santa Claus. But then there are also these similarities. He goes into the Buddhist monk, who, I'm going to forgive me if I butcher this, Hoteshio, who visits families on New Year's Eve. There's La Befana, which is a witch in Italy that will leave candles and figs and candies and goodies for children. There's a Swedish tradition. There's a whole slew of traditions throughout of a giver in different cultures all around the world. That normally happens right around winter solstice or the new year.
Mm-hmm.
You're scanning the article. Are you seeing some of these things I'm drawing out?
Yeah.
There are these givers that go past the Christian tradition, and it happens normally right around this time of year. I don't know why entirely, but it does. And I think there's an argument to be made that
Wait a minute.
the Northern Hemisphere...
Wait a minute. Couldn't it be because that's when people need charity? Because it's really cold?
That's
cold
what I was getting at, where it's... Yeah, cold, it's darker earlier, it's this time of year that can really draw on a person.
Yeah.
You know, we've come to understand some of that with seasonal depressions and how important sunlight is to us as a species even. So we have that tradition, that general good towards one another. If you look at the second article, this is actually a great tradition I grew up with, and I'll explain it. This one is from Penn Live.
All right.
The value in this one, and for everyone listening, if you look in the show notes, you'll see the links for all of these so you can follow along and see what we're talking about. But the value in this one is actually in the pictures with the little brief descriptions underneath, and it talks about the different, and again, it's speaking from our tradition, it's speaking to the different Santa Clauses, even though they have different names in their origin. And this display is set up in PPG Plaza in Pittsburgh every year. And as a kid, my grandfather would take the whole family, and we would spend the day going through Pittsburgh. We would ride the wooden escalators in, I think it was Macy's. We'd go all the way up to like the 6th or 7th or 8th floor, wherever those were. We'd wander around in PPG Plaza and look and talk about these different Santa Clauses. We spent the day enjoying Christmas in the city, which was a great tradition.
Mm-hmm.
But these Santas have always stuck out to me. They were always a highlight of that trip because there's beauty in how they were made and how they're presented, but there's also beauty in the traditions that they each speak to, where, again, it's a tradition of giving all around the world from different cultures, and how we can care for one another through those acts of giving. And here's the embodiment of that giving, which is a part of what I always loved. That final article I sent you from Insider.
Okay.
Do you have that one pulled up?
Yep.
This one is just, once again, kind of speaking in that vein of how each of these traditions are now embodied in the cultures, how you have the characters who go out and embody them, how the tradition is played out with families, how the story narrative goes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful in and of itself because, again, we think Christmas here in America and we think of going and sitting on Santa's lap, telling Santa what we want, but it's different in each culture. Where Santa, in my town, when Santa arrives, the fire truck comes in with the parade and they lift the ladder up and they pull Santa off of the roof of one of the tallest buildings here. Which I always find funny, where it's, why does Santa need to be rescued? Doesn't he have reindeer?
Where did they go?
Brief aside. Yeah, exactly. Oh, wait, I'm in Pennsylvania. They probably got shot down. Never mind. It's deer season out here. So there are these beautiful embodiments of tradition and giving that are not specific to Christianity. And I believe that there is an argument to... Okay, so for everyone listening, Lindsay and I are actually doing this over video and recording, and she's making faces at me. I feel like I have to specify that. But each of these traditions is beautiful in their own right, and not all of them are embodiments of Christian faith. You get
Right.
into some of the Middle Eastern and Eastern traditions, and you're dealing with Hinduism and Taoism and Buddhism and Islam, and even in those traditions, there's a giver who comes, who helps families, who helps children, whether they're in need or they're not, and it's there. And so I think there's an argument that we can make that the general goodness of humanity,
Okay.
Understand, I'm saying general goodness with the perspective of
Total depravity.
going back to episode 2, Romans 3, and no one is righteous, not even one, but I'm saying the general goodness that is humanity cannot help itself but to embody the spirit of giving in some way, whether it is someone that we uphold from tradition, like St. Nicholas, or a monk, or someone who just embodied that kindness, to creating these myths and legends that embody that spirit.
Right.
You're thinking.
Well, I'm trying to think of exactly what you're saying. So you're saying that because so many different cultures have this...
I'm saying that because so many cultures, very clearly, so many cultures have a embodiment of a giver, that there's something more to this. There's that degree of magic that maybe we can explain in the idea of just innate goodness, or that desire for goodness that only comes out once or twice a year, to there's a spirit at work that we do not understand in our collective psyches, in our collective spirits, however you would like to phrase that exactly, but there is some degree of magic.
Oh, I don't know. I do think that people are better than Christians give them credit for. I think people...
Oh, that feels like shots fired.
Sorry. It's just... I find it so sad. But I think it's because maybe there's been people throughout history in every culture that have sacrificed for the common good to keep the population, or to keep the neighborhood, or to keep the tribe, or to keep the apartment block going. Do I think there is some other extra outside source of that magic, or that whatever you call it? No. I think I think people are generally, I don't know. I'm stuck now, Rob.
That's okay. See, I told you, I just wanted to inch that needle a little bit. I think I got you a little there.
I just don't know what to say exactly.
Well, let me present to you one other piece where about a week or two ago I put up on our social media pages, which, Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, brief aside from the conversation. If you would like to follow along in some of the conversations as we're planning, as we're building, and as we're creating for this podcast, please follow along right now. We have 2 social media pages up, and that's the Twitter, the 42 Podcast, and Facebook, the 42 Podcast. You can follow there. But I posted up on the page a little while ago, and I shared it to my personal page about what people believe in Santa, figuring that I would get, at least on my personal page, I would get some of the adults that I work with to engage. And I did. And I was even surprised a little bit where they started sharing with me some of the tradition that they have from when they were a kid and when they were an adult. And one of the big stories that I got told was that there was a local Santa here who embodied for a lot of the community that spirit of giving. And he was one of my ladies. He was an uncle of hers.
Mm-hmm.
And, people knew him in the community. They connected with him all year round because the spirit that he had, that he carried with him, was one that was generous and kind and loving. And there are people like that we always kind of encounter. Have you ever encountered that where there's just someone who is just something other? And they embody this grace and kindness.
Okay, yep.
It doesn't have to be someone in a faith tradition. Someone who is an embodiment of grace and kindness. And so, for a lot of people in the community where I live and work, there was this man who was the Santa Claus, who embodied that. And there are good Santas that I've encountered where, I even posted a picture on my personal social media of a man that I know who is that embodiment, and he's a Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I say there's this spirit of kindness and love and grace that Santa Claus, or the other legends and myths of a giver, is the embodiment of throughout the world. That we have these people we encounter, and they can only be classified as that giver spirit.
Do you think these people are like that, where they were born that way? Or do you think there's really something that's, like, put on them, or, like...
Yes.
Which one? Like, yeah, both?
I think it would be fair to say both. I would say that there are people who are born to be graceful and kind. And again, my perspective and my view, because of my faith, is that each of us is born different and unique, because when we understand that we're different and unique, we understand then how we fill out the body of Christ, which is different and unique. And the body of Christ being composed of believers who are not just cookie-cutter individuals. It's each person has a gift that they fill out and embody, but these givers are different and unique in and of themselves because they're embodying a general desire for goodness in the human spirit.
Okay, that's possible. I'm just gonna throw this out there because I think it's just gotta be said because it's interesting. What if, in a society, if everybody gives away all their stuff, nobody's gonna have anything to eat? If everybody does it, nobody's gonna have anything in the larder or in the fridge. So maybe that's why it's a rare thing. Maybe there's a guy or in every society, or a couple people in every society that are extraordinarily giving, and somebody always takes them in and provides for them as well, because it's sort of, you take care of me, I take care of you type thing. In an evolutionary kind of way, I think that makes sense.
The first premise of everyone giving and no one would have.
Oh, well, okay. Like, again,
I think we are also kind of dipping our toes into communism with that one because of how humanity works, and I think that would be an entirely different episode that maybe you and I should talk about in politics.
Well, then let's just talk about altruism in general, then. There's a book recommendation, by the way, by Sam Harris called The Moral Landscape, and that's kind of what he goes into, is where does morality actually come from?
Mm-hmm.
I have still not read it, but I need to read it, and we're gonna need to probably pause it.
Yep.
It's very excited because it's snowing.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not snowing here. I want snow. We got rain last night. That's boring.
Okay, let's take it down. I haven't thought about this enough, and it's very interesting, and I definitely want to read about it. It's very compelling, I'll give you that. I'll have to
hey, Lindsay,
do some more.
Here's the thing. I'm going to consider this, for me, from my perspective, putting you in a spot where you're going, I need to read and understand more. I'm perfectly okay with that, because that's, to me, that's getting you just a little bit into that. It's a maybe. Remember, I didn't want Miracle on 34th Street. I just wanted you to move the needle a little, and I think I did, because the tradition that we always see of Santa Claus is the American tradition, because we're in America, but I think there's more to it than the American tradition that is Santa Claus in a red suit with reindeer flying around the world. I think there is a embodiment of giving that we see in the traditions and cultures. So at a minimum, I mean, there's an argument there then that this is something that is within humanity, at a minimum. That there are those who will stand out as givers to give, to embody the best of us.
Right, I don't argue with that for sure, yep. It's really interesting. Very, very cool, actually. Why is that?
Because there's a magic that is not always able to be embodied and explained, whether it's in the general goodness of humanity or a good close-up magician.
I don't have the words to explain it, but that doesn't mean it's magic.
And sometimes, you know what, sitting with an unexplained is the best thing we can do. Now, I'm also going to close this with one, I guess we'll call it a bit of a confession.
Yes.
Again, that tradition of Santa from my family and growing up, of my parents didn't go to measures to make me believe that there was a guy who flew around the world. They explained it that they would embody the spirit of Christmas in their giving every year. Which has been great, because I've done that with my own kids, which means that they know what Santa's preferences are. So they leave out scotch and cookies Christmas Eve. But they also understand that come Christmas, we go through and we watch our favorite series of Christmas movies. What is like your one have to watch Christmas movie?
Actually, we've been watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation for the last couple years. Last year, actually, we watched Die Hard instead, and it was just a mistake. It was a mistake. Christmas Eve, watching that, I could not.
Okay, no. That's not a Christmas Eve movie. No.
I mean, not with the kids.
I won't argue that, but that is a Christmas season movie.
Yes, you can. It's appropriate to watch it then, as opposed to July.
Yes. Die Hard is a Christmas season movie, not a Christmas Eve movie.
Yeah.
Some of you might want to fight us both on this, but anyway. Okay, so Christmas Vacations.
Yeah.
Those are good. Those are fun.
It's funny.
I have to say, two sides. We do The Christmas Story, and then I do It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah. My dad used to make us watch that.
Well, and that's... I watch it because that's what I watched with my dad growing up, and as my kid gets older, I'm going to make him watch it. But It's a Christmas Story is our family watch movie, and It's a Wonderful Life is my must-watch. All right. Anyway, where I was going with this was that anytime I watch a Christmas movie with a good Santa, it brings a joy and a spark to me, and a little bit of that happy cry. C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, the book and the movie. When Santa comes in, I'm always like, oh, Santa! Even Tim Allen's Santa Claus movies. Oh, Santa! Because I really do truly believe that there is a great embodiment to the spirit of giving that we see that is Santa Claus, or whatever your tradition culturally or by faith has.
Yeah.
Because we may not be good, but we're trying, and we have these moments that shine through. That's where I stand.
Cool. Well, I tip my hat to you. I doff my cap.
And I got you to kind of wrestle with it a bit, so I'll take it.
Yeah, whatever. I find it very telling, by the way, that you said that we have an unspoken agreement that I'm going to collapse your belief system, but you're going to ignite my belief system. I think that's, that's funny.
Hey, I'm just going from things that you've said in the past.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you've spoken to both in the past directly of, And I quote, I know you have plans for my immortal soul, Rob.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
And then, I quote, Lindsey, look, you have to either believe in this or give up on that.
Yeah.
Both of those were in unaired episodes that we may have to revisit.
Yeah.
So. And you know what? It's okay, because at the end of the day, we're still friends. I think.
Yeah.
Well, Lindsey, thank you for talking with me and hearing what I believe.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was fun, interesting. Now I gotta go read The Moral Landscape by Sam Harris.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. I guess I'll check it out, because I have a feeling we'll disagree on that one. But and I guess when this episode releases, it'll be mid-December. One of the things that we're working on for upcoming episodes is we're going to do a book club at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're going to do a book and movie club, because we even said we need to do that, huh?
Yeah, you take a turn picking, and then I take a turn picking, and we try to convert each other. It'll be great.
Oh, now wait a minute. I suspended that rule directly for this episode, an episode alone. No. All right. Yeah, those are going to be upcoming probably in January. We'll announce a book and a movie that we'll discuss in later episodes. So, stay tuned as we continue to grow into this podcast. Please do take a moment to rate and review us and subscribe if you think we have earned it. And if you also feel that we've earned it, please also share it, because the more listeners we get, the more voices that are involved in this, the more voices involved in this conversation, and the greater depth we can even get into as you guys give us ideas and ask questions as well. So please do take a moment, do all of that, and jump in on our social media stuff. As this expands, we'll also expand our social media accounts. And thank you all for listening. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right, Lindsey, so we went through some beliefs in Santa, and I kind of leveled it out of what I was gunning for today, and was open and honest about what I was gunning for. But at the end of all of this, at the end of our civil discussion, are we still friends?
Absolutely.
You know what, Lindsey? I appreciate and value your conversation and company every podcast. All right, thank you.
Ciao.